The story of Carthage begins with Queen Dido, a Phoenician royal whose life was forever changed by betrayal and tragedy. Forced to flee her homeland of Tyre after her brother Pygmalion murdered her husband in a ruthless bid for power, Dido became a symbol of resilience and determination. With her loyal followers, she gathered what she could and set sail into the unknown, leaving behind everything familiar. She and her followers braved the vast Mediterranean, navigating treacherous waters and unpredictable storms. Their journey was not just a physical voyage but a leap of faith, driven by hope for a new beginning and the promise of safety far from the reach of her brother's wrath. The sea, both a barrier and a bridge, carried them toward the distant shores of North Africa. Upon landing in North Africa, Dido encountered the local Berber tribes led by the chieftain Iarbas. The meeting was tense. Dido, a foreign queen with a band of exiles, and Iarbas, wary of newcomers. In a gesture that seemed mocking, Iarbas offered her only as much land as could be covered by a single oxhide, expecting her to refuse or fail. But Dido was clever. She accepted the challenge and with remarkable ingenuity, sliced the oxhide into impossibly thin strips. Piece by piece she laid them end to end, encircling the entire hill of Barca. What seemed like a trick became a masterstroke of negotiation, turning a meager offer into a foundation for greatness. The Berber chieftain, outwitted but bound by his word, honored the agreement. Dido's resourcefulness earned not just land, but respect. This act of cunning diplomacy would echo through the ages, setting the tone for Carthage's future. In 814 BC, atop Barca Hill, the city of Carthage was founded. Unlike many ancient cities born from conquest and bloodshed, Carthage's origins lay in wit, negotiation, and the ability to turn adversity into opportunity. The city's very name, Carthage, meant new city, a fresh start for Dido and her people. Its location was a masterstroke. Perched above the sea, Carthage commanded sweeping views and access to vital maritime trade routes. The city quickly became a nexus of commerce, culture, and power, drawing merchants and travelers from across the Mediterranean. Carthage, or Carthage, stood as a gateway between east and west, its harbors bustling with ships from distant lands. The city's strategic position made it a melting pot of ideas, goods, and ambitions, destined to play a pivotal role in the ancient world. The legend of its founding was more than a story, it was a blueprint. Carthage would be defined by clever negotiation, adaptability, and the ability to outthink rivals. From its earliest days, the city's leaders valued strategy over brute force, setting Carthage apart from its neighbors. From the start, Carthage thrived as a hub for trade, power, and ambition. Its markets overflowed with exotic goods, spices, metals, textiles, while its people forged connections that spanned continents. The city's wealth and influence grew rapidly, attracting both admiration and envy. As Carthage's power expanded, it soon found itself in competition with the mightiest empires of the ancient world. Its rise would spark rivalries and conflicts that would shape the course of history for centuries to come. This was just the beginning. Carthage's story would unfold in triumphs and tragedies, innovations and intrigues, leaving an indelible mark on the Mediterranean and beyond. The legend of the Oxhide was only the first of many Carthaginian gambits, a testament to a civilization built on intelligence, resilience, and the art of turning the smallest opportunity into greatness. Carthage's power came from its unrivaled command of the Mediterranean. Its harbors, one for commerce, one for war, were engineering marvels. The city controlled the strait between Sicily and Africa, taxing and monitoring all trade. Carthaginian merchants spread across the western Mediterranean, founding colonies and trading posts. Their empire was built on contracts and commerce, not conquest. A powerful navy protected their interests, while mercenaries from across the region filled their armies. This diverse force was loyal to Carthaginian gold, not the city itself, a strength and a future weakness. Carthage's wealth and influence made it the master of the western Mediterranean. But such dominance would inevitably draw rivals. Rome was watching. For centuries, Carthage ruled the Mediterranean waves, its mighty navy unmatched, and its influence stretching across the seas. But across the water, a new power was rising. Rome, a city-state whose ambitions were growing as rapidly as its armies. The two great powers soon found themselves in direct conflict over the island of Sicily, a strategic crossroads of trade and military power. In 264 BC, Their rivalry erupted into open war, marking the beginning of the First Punic War, a struggle that would reshape the ancient world. Although Rome was a land power with little naval experience, it quickly adapted. The Romans built an entire fleet from scratch, modeling their ships after a captured Carthaginian vessel. Their greatest innovation was the corvus, a massive boarding bridge that allowed Roman soldiers to turn sea battles into brutal infantry clashes, playing to their strengths and neutralizing Carthage's naval superiority. The war raged on for more than 2 decades with fierce battles on land and sea. Cities were besieged, fleets destroyed, and thousands of lives lost. Both Rome and Carthage suffered immense devastation, their resources stretched to the breaking point. Yet Rome's relentless manpower, discipline, and ability to learn from defeat gave it the edge. The Romans rebuilt their fleets time and again, refusing to surrender even after catastrophic losses. In 241 BC, at the decisive Battle of the Aegates Islands, the Roman navy finally crushed the Carthaginian fleet, forcing Carthage to sue for peace. Carthage was compelled to surrender Sicily, its prized possession, and pay a massive indemnity that crippled its economy for years to come. The upstart Romans had claimed victory in their first great overseas war, announcing their arrival as a major Mediterranean power. Carthage, though humbled and weakened, was far from finished. Its pride was wounded, but its spirit remained unbroken. The bitter rivalry between Rome and Carthage was only just beginning. Both sides knew that the peace would not last. The Mediterranean, once dominated by Carthage, now trembled on the edge of further conflict. The uneasy truce was merely a pause before the storm. The stage was set for an even greater and more terrible war, one that would decide the fate of empires. In Carthage, a young general named Hannibal was waiting in the wings, ready to take up the challenge and change history forever. In the aftermath of devastating defeat and crushing debt, Carthage seemed a shadow of its former self. Yet, from the ashes of despair, a new hope emerged in the form of the Barcid family, a lineage determined to restore Carthaginian pride and power. Hamilcar Barca, a seasoned and cunning general, had fought Rome before. He returned home with a vision, to raise his son Hannibal, not just as a warrior, but as the instrument of Carthage's revenge. From a young age, Hannibal was taught to see Rome as the eternal enemy. In a solemn temple surrounded by ancient gods, Hannibal swore a sacred oath, an unbreakable vow of everlasting hatred toward Rome. This moment would shape the destiny of 2 great civilizations. The Barcids turned their gaze westward, building a new Carthaginian stronghold in Spain. Here, they amassed vast riches from silver mines and forged a formidable army, hardened by constant warfare and loyal to the Barcid cause. When Hamilcar fell, his legacy passed to Hannibal. Young, brilliant, and fiercely determined, Hannibal took command. He began to plan a campaign that would shake the ancient world. His eyes fixed on Rome itself. Hannibal's first move was bold and provocative. He attacked Saguntum, a city under Rome's protection, knowing full well it would ignite a war. The die was cast, and the world braced for conflict. But Hannibal was not content to fight on familiar ground. Instead of waiting for Rome to come to him, he led his army, infantry, cavalry, and his legendary war elephants on a perilous journey. They crossed the Pyrenees, then braved the icy, treacherous passes of the Alps, a feat that stunned the ancient world. Many believed such a crossing was impossible, yet against all odds, Hannibal's army emerged battered but unbroken, ready to strike at the heart of Rome. With every step, Hannibal brought the war closer to Rome's doorstep, sending shockwaves through the Republic and its allies. The Second Punic War had begun, a conflict that would test the limits of endurance, strategy, and willpower on both sides. Rome, proud and unyielding, now faced its greatest test. The city's fate, and perhaps the fate of the ancient world, hung in the balance. As Hannibal's forces crossed into Italy, the world watched in awe and fear, uncertain of what the future would hold. The fate of empires truly hung in the balance as Hannibal's audacious gamble set the stage for one of history's most legendary conflicts. Hannibal's crossing of the Alps decimated his army, but those who survived were elite. In Italy, Hannibal unleashed a series of brilliant victories: Trebia, Lake Trasimene, and Cannae. At Cannae, he encircled and annihilated a massive Roman army, inflicting Rome's worst defeat. Panic gripped Rome, allies defected to Hannibal, yet he lacked the means to besiege the city itself. Hannibal's genius on the battlefield was unmatched, but Rome's resilience would be tested. The city trembled, but did not fall. Hannibal's campaign became legendary, studied for centuries. Rome's survival would depend on new leadership and unbreakable will. The war was far from over. The struggle for supremacy continued. The fate of the Mediterranean hung in the balance. Rome prepared to strike back. After Cannae, Rome refused to surrender. Fabius Maximus adopted delaying tactics, wearing Hannibal down. Meanwhile, a new Roman general emerged, Scipio. Scipio drove Carthaginians from Spain, then invaded Africa, forcing Carthage to recall Hannibal. At Zama, in 202 BC, Scipio's cavalry and tactics defeated Hannibal. Carthage surrendered, losing its empire, navy, and freedom to wage war. Hannibal went into exile. Carthage was left powerless. Rome became master of the Mediterranean. Carthage's fate was sealed, but its story was not yet over. The city endured, but only as a shadow of its former self. The rivalry that shaped the ancient world had ended in ruin. Rome's victory was total. Carthage's legacy would soon face its final test. For decades, Carthage lingered as a client state, rebuilding through trade. Roman fear of its revival led to the Third Punic War. In 146 BC, Rome besieged and destroyed Carthage, selling survivors into slavery and razing the city. The land was symbolically cursed, sown with salt. Yet, a century later, Rome rebuilt Carthage as a colony. Under Augustus, it flourished, becoming a major city of the Roman Empire. Carthage rose from its ashes, a testament to the land's enduring value. The city that Rome destroyed became a jewel of its empire. Carthage's story is one of destruction and rebirth. Its legacy endures in stone and memory. The ancient rivalry gave way to a new era. Today, Carthage's ruins sprawl across Tunis's suburbs. Start at Bursa Hill, the legendary heart of the city, with sweeping views and a museum of Punic and Roman artifacts. Visit the remains of the Punic ports, once bustling with trade and warships. Explore the Tophet, the Antonine Baths, and the Roman amphitheater. Marvel at intricate mosaics in Roman villas. Each site reveals a layer of Carthage's complex past. Walking these ruins, you feel the echoes of traders, soldiers, and citizens. Carthage's story lives on in its stones. Carthage is easily reached from Tunis by light rail or taxi. Visit in spring or autumn for the best weather. A single ticket grants access to all major sites. Plan for at least half a day. Wear comfortable shoes and bring water. The ruins are spread out. A map or guidebook helps make sense of the history. Stand on Bursa Hill, imagine the city's rise and fall, and let Carthage's legacy inspire you. This is more than a visit. It's a journey into the heart of the ancient world.